Caleb Monroe didn't blink. He wasn't shocked. He was studying. I remember thinking, nah, this ain't just shock. He's loading something. The barrel stopped 6 inches from his face. Middle of the day, middle of the street. The air didn't move. Neither did the crowd. The cop wore aviators, smug, like no one would dare stop him. Caleb's hand stayed down, but his eyes, they scanned. Gate half open, camera blinking red, sunlight catching just enough of his badge. No one spoke, except the wind brushing past the sign. 55 plus community. He saw everything. He counted the seconds. And in his silence, he aimed back. Caleb Monroe wasn't the kind of man you push twice. Not because he'd fight you, but because he wouldn't have to. He'd just wait. Wait until the noise stopped. Until the room emptied, and then he'd make a move you'd never see coming. He didn't talk about where he'd been, didn't wear the jacket, didn't hang any medals. But his steps were measured, his silences held weight, and he had the kind of stillness that made even loud men quiet down. People said he used to serve. Some whispered Afghanistan, others guessed law enforcement. Caleb never confirmed either, but he always parked facing the exit. He always looked for the second camera, and he always noticed who changed their walking pattern when the sun shifted. He moved in last winter, same house his mother lived in before the HOA turned corporate, before the clipboard came out, before community meant fines, forms, and warnings posted at night. He didn't change much, didn't repaint, didn't trim too tight, but every Saturday at 7 a.m., he wiped down the porch rail, even in the snow. Under the left corner, one plank was scratched, faint but still there. His mother's name, etched with a pocket knife during her last spring. Caleb crouched there last week, wiped it clean, said nothing. A few feet away, the hook still hung, old, bent, but right where she used to hang her bird feeder. That feeder disappeared a week ago. HOA said it attracted pests, said it broke uniformity. He didn't respond, didn't argue. He just found the hook, held it a second, and screwed it back in. Same spot, same tilt. The next morning, the feeder was back. Same blue rim, same chip on the side. Neighbors noticed, nobody said a word. Caleb stood inside, arms crossed, watching. He wasn't angry, he was tracking. Remembering patterns, measuring angles, like the way that part-time cop's thumb had twitched when he pointed the gun. He'd seen that twitch before, knew what it meant. Fear doesn't live in the weapon, it lives in the eyes that don't flinch. And Caleb Monroe, he hadn't flinched in a long, long time. She didn't knock, just stood behind the hedge, clipboard in hand, blouse too crisp for a Saturday. She didn't speak, just nodded once, toward the porch. Then he showed up. Troy Halpern, badge half visible, gun on one hip, clipboard on the other, part-time cop, full-time follower. He didn't say much either, just announced it. Routine inspection, no prior notice, no emergency. Just a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Caleb opened the door, didn't step back, didn't ask why. He stood there, waiting, long enough for the camera above the garage to blink. Red light. Recording. Troy cleared his throat, held up a folded letter, the kind with bolded words and HOA letterhead. Visual disruption to community aesthetic. Caleb didn't blink, didn't reach for the letter, just looked past it, to the hook, still there, still holding the same bird feeder, his mother's. Troy followed his gaze, paused, then ripped the letter from its fold and taped it to the door. Not inside, not handed over, taped like a warning. The wind tugged at the corner, made the word violation flutter, and still, Caleb said nothing. He looked up again. Camera 9:42 a.m. Angle wide enough, audio close enough. He stepped back, slow, deliberate. Troy nodded like that meant something, then turned, left the same way he came, boots loud but uncertain. The woman by the hedge hadn't moved. She didn't look at Caleb, didn't need to. One clipboard raised, and the whole block obeyed. A curtain shifted, across the street. An old man, white hair, thick glasses, peeked through. He didn't wave, didn't frown, just nodded. Once, then the curtain closed, that was all. But it was enough. The silence wasn't quiet. It was heavy, like everyone heard it, but no one named it. Caleb stayed in the doorway, eyes on the tape notice, didn't tear it down, didn't move. He read it, folded it, put it behind the door, then walked back inside. No one stopped him, no one called him back, but someone was watching, and Caleb knew exactly who. She never raised her voice. She didn't have to. She just gnashed her rules and waited for silence to feel like surrender. But Caleb Monroe, he wasn't done counting. Maybe you've seen something like this before. Not loud, just wrong. But no one said a word. I used to think staying quiet meant keeping peace. Now I wonder if silence only protects the wrong people. If this story stirred something in you, you can leave a trace below, or stay close. There's more coming. Caleb didn't remove the notice. He just placed something next to it, a clean printout, taped precisely beneath the HOA letterhead. Small font, one sentence. Please confirm compliance with Section A 12-2 HOA policy, active since 2003. That was it. No email, no confrontation, just a question. By noon, it was already being talked about. Not loudly, just in side glances. What was A 12-2? Why did Caleb bring it up? Was it even real? Across the street, someone pulled out an old HOA handbook. No one spoke to Caleb, but the printout stayed up. 3 days, untouched. On the 4th day, an email went out. From Dana, CC'd to the entire community list. Subject, unpermitted fixtures, violation reminder. Tone, warm, legal, absolutely targeting one person. She mentioned visual clutter. She referenced external attachments. She quoted HOA Article BSA 5, but left out the amendments from 2004. It sounded official, it sounded final, but Caleb knew what was missing. And more importantly, he knew who else had read it. The moment he saw the message, he didn't reply. He didn't forward it. He just printed it, filed it in a blue folder, and left the original warning taped to the door. That night, he poured water into the ceramic cup his mom used, set it gently on the porch rail. His eyes flicked to the camera. It blinked once, then twice. He turned to go in, then stopped. There was a box on the shelf near the door. Photos, old ones, dusty but careful. One showed a younger version of himself, uniform sharp, face harder, standing next to his father, both of them smiling under a hand-hooked bird feeder. Caleb exhaled, long, silent. He placed the photo back, but slower than before. The next afternoon, a kid rode by, bike too big for him, stopped in front of the porch. "Hey," the boy called out. "I like that bird thing." Caleb looked down at the feeder, then at the boy. He nodded, a small smile. "Yeah," he said. "It's been here a long time." The kid rode off, and just like that, the smile was gone. His jaw locked. His hand brushed the corner of the tape notice, then withdrew. He walked back inside. The camera blinked again. Caleb didn't plan to win an argument. He planned to collapse a system. And this was just the first turn of the key. Caleb stepped onto the porch just after sunrise. No noise, no words. He reached up, hooked the bird feeder back into place. Same position, same angle. But this time, there was a new addition, a brushed aluminum plate, bolted just below the hook, engraved clearly. Registered design under HOA Guidelines, 2003, Article B.6. Not flashy, not loud, but impossible to miss. By 9 a.m., someone had already taken a photo. By 9:15, the email thread lit up again. But Caleb didn't respond. He stayed inside, sat by the window, and waited. At 10:03, the screen door creaked open. Troy Halpern stormed into the yard. Number I told you before. Take that thing down." He didn't knock, didn't ask, just pointed. Voice raised. Behind him, a few heads turned. A woman watering her garden froze mid-pour. An older couple paused their walk. A teenager across the street held his phone just a little higher. Caleb didn't flinch. He stepped outside, calm, wearing the same black t-shirt, hands empty. Troy kept going. "This violates code. I don't care what sign you put up. Rules have changed." Caleb said nothing. He just looked at him. then slowly turned to the aluminum plate, ran one finger across the words. He wasn't defying, he was pointing, quietly, at the truth. The camera above the garage light blinked red. Recording. Troy stepped closer. Too close. "You think this is funny?" He tapped Caleb's chest with 2 fingers. Hard. The camera caught that too. The hand, the tone, the distance. Still, Caleb didn't speak. Just one slow breath. Eyes locked. No fear. Just calculation. A shuffle of gravel behind them. An old man stood by the sidewalk. The same one from the curtain. He looked down at the plate, looked up at Troy, then pulled out his phone, opened the camera, no words, just stillness. Troy froze, just for a second, then turned away, half snarl, half retreat. Caleb remained. He reached up, straightened the feeder slightly, clicked it once on the hook, then went back inside. No words spoken, no rules broken, but something had shifted, not just between him and Troy, between Caleb and the neighborhood. He was no longer the quiet guy on the corner. He was the man who remembered the rules and knew how to use them. The HOA meeting was called for 6 p.m. Clubhouse, folding chairs, lukewarm coffee. Every seat filled. Troy stood at the front, in uniform again, hand tapping the poster board with bullet points in bold. Community Harmony Addendum, 2022. His voice was firm. "We must maintain visual consistency. The bird feeder violates updated appearance codes." Some nodded. A few looked bored. One woman yawned behind her clipboard. Caleb was in the back. Last row, button-down shirt, folder on his lap. He hadn't said a word until now. He raised his hand. Troy hesitated. "Yes, go ahead." Caleb didn't stand. He just asked, "The addendum you're citing, when was it published?" Troy blinked. 2022, it's on file." Caleb opened his folder, slid one page forward, didn't lift it, just let it catch the light. Stamped, dated, 2003. "This design," Caleb said slowly, "was approved under the 2003 guidelines. It's registered, public record, never repealed." The room shifted. Small movements, paper rustling, shoes adjusting under chairs. Troy stepped forward, louder now. Well, the community voted. We adapted. That's how rules work." Caleb looked up, calm. "When was that vote?" Silence. "Was there notice? A meeting? A quorum?" Another silence, longer this time. Then, a voice from the middle row, a man in a green polo holding his phone. "Actually, I just searched my email. There was never a vote on record." A murmur. Then another voice, a woman near the door. "I remember. They just sent a memo. Dana said it was fine." Troy flushed. Dana turned, whispering fast. "I told you not to write that in the group chat." But it was too late. The green polo guy wasn't done. He scrolled, tapped, then read aloud. "Troy, just print new rules. They won't check the old ones." Sent. 3 weeks ago. In the HOA WhatsApp. 2 county reps were sitting by the snack table. Both had stopped chewing. Caleb didn't smile. Not really, but something shifted behind his eyes. Quiet satisfaction. Final. He closed the folder, didn't look at Troy, didn't need to. He stood, adjusted his sleeve, and walked out the back door. While the room broke open behind him, morning came slow, warm, still. Caleb stepped out barefoot. Coffee in one hand, the bird feeder in the other. Faded red paint chipped near the base. Same spot it always chipped. He didn't fix it. He didn't need to. He walked to the porch post, lifted the hook gently, hung the feeder back in place. Same spot, same swing. No one watched, but the neighborhood was listening now, in their own way. He stayed a moment, not for show, just to see it where it belonged, then turned and went back inside. Didn't look over his shoulder, didn't check the camera, didn't need confirmation. That part was over. Down the street, an old man pedaled slowly past, paused for just a second, tipped his chin, no smile, just recognition. Later that day, the man would lower the faded flag in his yard, clean it, hang it back up, carefully, on a new pole. No one mentioned the meeting, no one brought up the vote. Dana resigned from the HOA 2 weeks later. Troy's shifts stopped appearing on the community schedule. The emails stopped altogether. But Caleb never said a word. He kept the porch clean, watered the jasmine, paid the HOA fees on time, didn't change a thing. Only one detail was different. The security camera, used to face the porch, now pointed down the driveway, outward, watching the road. Nothing flashy. No sign saying why. Just a quiet shift in where the gaze now landed. The feeder stayed, untouched. Every breeze gave it a soft sway. Sometimes a bird would come, sometimes not. But it was there, still, like it always should have been. And Caleb? He sat inside most days, by the window, watching the light move across the porch like time never passed, but somehow, everything changed. He didn't win, he just made sure nothing was stolen. Not everyone fights to win. Some just want no one to touch what they've guarded too long. Some things don't need to be allowed to last. A chipped bird feeder, a rusted hook, the weight of a porch step creaking in the morning. It's not about the object, it's about the presence. What stays when everything else tries to change? Caleb never raised his voice, but the silence he left behind shifted the street. Not everyone understands restraint. They mistake stillness for surrender, kindness for weakness, age for passivity. But those who've lived long enough know the power of waiting, of placing one truth down, and letting others trip over it themselves. A camera never argues. It just records. Time never pushes. It just returns. Until what's hidden surfaces again. Justice, when done right, doesn't punish. It reminds that some rules aren't written in bylaws. They're etched into the porch rails, baked into faded siding, held in place by someone who remembers where things used to be. He didn't reclaim the feeder to prove anything. He did it so no one would forget. Because sometimes, what you refuse to let go of becomes the line no one dares cross again. Not everything needs to be defended. Some things just need to remain.